my joy was short-lived when the airline staff informed me that I had already missed my flight. At that moment, I began to worry that my flight to Paris was in jeopardy, and my passport didn't have an exit stamp from Spain. Opting for tomato juice as my beverage choice was a decision I soon regretted. It tasted too reminiscent of tomato sauce. After capturing several moments, to my astonishment, he offered me his cap to wear. Grateful beyond words for the chance to fulfill a lifelong dream of sitting in an actual plane cockpit and donning a pilot's cap.
Catch flights, not feelings.
Suave, suavecito.
Hola amigos, estoy ahora en España. Today is packed with adventure, starting from Barcelona and traveling by high-speed train. After a lengthy search, I finally found my train ride to Terminal 4 of Adolfo Suarez Madrid Barajas Airport. Now, I'm ready for the most exciting part of my journey. I'm flying to Paris today. And this is my first time using a Schengen visa to cross into another member state. This trip is unlike any other because I'll be flying business class. Upon arriving at the airport, I wasted no time and headed straight to the business class section for check-in. Since this is my first time in this cabin class, I felt overwhelmed as I walked toward the check-in counter, relishing the privilege of not having to stand in line. Although I usually prefer self-check-in at the airport for convenience, avoiding the regular check-in counter, the experience of checking in at the business class counter was exhilarating. I felt like I hit the jackpot, especially since I managed to get this ticket at the price of an economy seat. However, my joy was short-lived when the airline staff informed me that I had already missed my flight. I was shocked because my flight was scheduled for around 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was only 11 a.m. I knew I was excited about my business class flight, but it seems my plane was even more eager to leave, taking off earlier than expected. At that moment, I began to worry that my flight to Paris was in jeopardy. Earlier, I had encountered setbacks, particularly in finding the right train to the airport, which cost me some time. Fortunately, after verifying that my flight was indeed scheduled for 9 p.m., the airline staff finally handed over my coveted ticket. My heart was filled with happiness as my business class debut was about to become a reality in just a few moments. Without wasting any time, I headed straight to the priority access lane. I felt incredibly emotional as I walked through the lane. For the first time in my life, someone made me a priority. I'm very thankful to Iberia for this experience. Of course, no business class flight would be completed without spending time in the lounge. You can watch my full adventure at the lounge in a separate video. The link is in the description below. During my stay in the lounge, one thing bothered me. I hadn't passed through immigration and my passport didn't have an exit stamp from Spain. To find peace of mind, I inquired at the reception. They informed me that I would have received my exit stamp upon departure from a Schengen member state. In my case, France would provide me the exit stamp for my trip to Doha. After making the most of my time at the Iberia lounge, my boarding call finally came at 8:40 p.m. This flight was quite a blockbuster, with the crowd filing up the boarding gate. After a while, the priority passengers were called to board the plane first, which, of course, included me. Hola! Here is my flight report for Iberia's Flight 3426, a nonstop flight from Madrid to Paris in 2 hours and 5 minutes. Our aircraft for this flight was a twinjet Airbus A320. Right after I boarded the plane, the co-pilot approached me requesting not to include the crew in the video as Iberia staff are not keen on the social media exposure. I respected the request, especially since I had a good rapport with the co-pilot. I also asked if I could take a selfie in the cockpit after the flight, and I was grateful that he welcomed my request. When I was booking this flight, I searched the entire internet for photos of the business class cabin on this flight, but I couldn't find any. The business class seat I had imagined was a cubicle type or at least a more spacious seat. However, this flight featured a typical 3-2-3 seat configuration with extra legroom. This was far from my expectations, but I was content with the seat considering the price of my ticket. I have no idea how they configure their business class seats even for a short haul flight. For this flight, I had the window seat in 1A. This aircraft has 36 business class seats and 150 economy class seats, all in a 3-2-3 configuration. At 9:10 p.m., the plane started taxiing. The distance from Madrid to Paris spans 661 miles with an average flight speed of 379 miles per hour. Beneath of my seat, there's a power outlet allowing me to charge my devices during the flight. While onboard Wi-Fi is provided, it restricted to Iberia's information catalog. Access to certain apps requires additional fee, which may be considered a drawback for business class passengers. Some other airlines offer complimentary Wi-Fi access, making this limitation less favorable for those accustomed to such amenities. At 10:15 p.m., snack service commenced. Tray tables were accessible through the armrest. The meal consists of roasted beef for starter, handmade pasta as the main course, accompanied by wheat bread and chocolate mousse for dessert. Opting for tomato juice as my beverage choice was a decision I soon regretted. It tasted too reminiscent of tomato sauce with an expected sourness. The drink selection was limited, offering only few options. Overall, the food was satisfying, particularly the pasta, thanks to the inclusion of cheese, a comforting choice for me. After finishing my meal, I decided to explore the onboard portal, which I discovered are remaining minutes until landing in Paris. 2 hours in the air passed unnoticed, and before long, we were preparing to touch down in Paris. As we descended, the illuminated landscape of Paris came into view, thanks to the street lights below. The landing was smooth, a testament to the pilot's skills. Choosing to let other passengers disembark first, I approached the crew to inquire about the possibility of a photo opportunity in the cockpit. However, I was informed that access to the cockpit is no longer permitted for passengers. Determined to seize the opportunity, I persisted in my request to visit the cockpit. As luck would have it, during our conversation, the co-pilot unexpectedly emerged and noticed my presence. Without hesitation, I asked the co-pilot if I could take some selfies in the cockpit. To my delight, he warmly welcomed me inside. After capturing several moments, to my astonishment, he offered me his cap to wear. Grateful beyond words for the chance to fulfill a lifelong dream of sitting in an actual plane cockpit and donning a pilot's cap. I thank the co-pilot profusely for his generosity. Experiencing the cockpit of a real plane was a significant milestone for me, especially as a plane enthusiast. While I had previously enjoyed the simulation experience during my trip to Japan,
flying at 400 miles per hour, The time is 3:25 p.m. Weather conditions are favorable and thanks to a tailwind, we're anticipating an arrival.
Nothing compared to the thrill of being in an actual cockpit. Interestingly, this flight was the result of a booking error. Originally intending to fly from Barcelona, I stumbled upon a competitive offer for Iberia's business class while comparing prices with Vueling. Surprisingly, the cost was comparable to an economy seat, making it an irresistible deal. This unexpected turn of events led to a memorable journey and a dream fulfilled in the sky. My impulsive booking led me to inadvertently select Iberia, with Madrid as my flight's origin. Despite this oversight, it resulted in an unforgettable experience. That will certainly be marked in my flight history. Enjoying the luxuries of business class from the lounge to the airplane seat was a delight. However, the highlight of the journey was undoubtedly the opportunity to visit the cockpit, an experience I had never imagined having. Concerned about the exit stamp from Spain, I was surprised to find no immigration presence upon exiting the arrival area. This unexpected turn of events added to another layer of surprise to an already memorable trip. Exiting the building, I found myself interpreting the experience as akin to a domestic arrival, retrieving my luggage and leaving the area. It struck me how convenient traveling between Schengen states can be. As this was my first trip within the Schengen area, I couldn't help but appreciate the seamless transition from one state to another. Reflecting on this experience, I couldn't help but wonder if a similar model could be implemented within ASEAN. The ease of movement between member states could potentially streamline travel and enhance the overall experience for travelers in the region. Stay tuned for my travel adventures here in Paris.
Catch flights, not feelings.
Nadie como tú, no hay un sustituto.
Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito.